Before we dive into Module 4, I need to give you something I realized I left out of the last module. You see, I spent Module 3 explaining why practicing with your advisor or friends doesn't create real pressure, which is true and important to understand, but I didn't give you any actionable steps for what you can do to create more pressure in your practice, even if it's not perfect. So instead of going back and re-recording everything, I'm going to give you those action steps right now in this sort of half module. I hope you're okay with that. So your practice sessions with advisors and friends don't create real pressure. We covered that thoroughly in the last module, but that doesn't mean you can't improve them. Here are 5 actionable techniques to simulate defense conditions more effectively and train your brain to perform under stress. First, record yourself responding to questions. Have someone ask you defense-style questions while you record video of yourself answering. Then, and this is the important part, watch yourself respond. This creates mild social pressure because your brain treats future you watching this as an audience. You're not just practicing in the moment and then moving on. You're evaluating your own performance, and that evaluation activates self-awareness and accountability mechanisms that are similar to being observed by others. It's not the same as your committee watching you, but it's closer than just practicing without recording. Second, practice with strangers or distant acquaintances. Find grad students from different departments or professors you don't know well, maybe someone whose work you've read but you've never actually worked with. Their unfamiliarity creates more pressure than your advisor does. Your brain lacks the same safety signals with people outside your immediate circle. When you don't have that established relationship, when you don't know if they like you or think you're competent, your threat detection system pays more attention. It's not full threat activation, but it's more than you get with your advisor. Third, practice standing up. This sounds simple, but it matters. Don't rehearse sitting comfortably in a chair like you're having a casual conversation. Stand. Present exactly as you will during your defense. Stand for the full practice session, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels awkward. Standing activates your nervous system slightly differently than sitting does. Your body registers this as not casual. This is formal. This is a performance. The physical act of standing makes the practice feel more real, more like an actual defense. Fourth, set artificial stakes for your performance. Before you practice, establish a consequence for unclear responses. Something like, if I can't answer this question clearly in under 2 minutes, I owe myself 50 push-ups. Or, if I can't explain my methodology without stumbling, I have to run an extra mile tonight. This sounds silly. These stakes aren't real in any meaningful way, but your brain responds to stakes anyway, even artificial ones. It activates focus. It creates urgency. It makes you care about performing well in this particular situation, in your practice session, not just going through the motions. Fifth, use strict time limits. Give yourself 60 seconds to respond to questions, no more. Set a visible timer where you can see it counting down. When the timer goes off, you're done talking. Time pressure activates your stress response because you have to think quickly and articulate clearly under constraint. You can't take 5 minutes to carefully construct the perfect answer. You have to process the question, access your knowledge, and respond coherently, all while watching that clock tick down. This mimics real defense conditions where you can't take unlimited time to think through every response. Now, here's the important caveat, and I need you to hear this clearly. These techniques create more pressure than standard practice with your advisor. They're significantly better than nothing. They will improve your readiness. If you use these 5 techniques, your practice sessions will be more valuable than if you don't. However, they still don't fully replicate what your real defense will look like. Your threat response won't activate at the same level it will when you're actually being evaluated by your committee. Recording yourself doesn't create the same stakes as 5 professors judging your competence. Practicing with a stranger from another department doesn't trigger the same response as defending in front of people who can reject you. Time pressure helps, but it's not the same as the pressure of genuinely not knowing if you'll pass. So use these tools. Absolutely use them. They will enhance your current practice. They will make your rehearsals more effective than they would be otherwise. But understand they're not a complete solution to the pressure training problem we discussed in Module 3. They're improvements. They're better than what most students do, but they're not the same as actually training under the conditions you'll face in your real defense. Okay, now you have practical tools to increase practice pressure and better prepare for your defense. While these techniques won't perfectly replicate the real experience, they represent significant improvements over standard rehearsal methods. Now, let's move into Module 4.